the consequences of the Congress of the United States overriding a decision of the President of the United States of this magnitude are really very, very serious. And already we're sending a bad signal to Iran, to North Korea, to Bashar Assad.
That was Senator John McCain on Face the Nation. Well, last week, President Obama was also talking. He put on hold an imminent strike on Syria. What does this mean for U.S. diplomacy in the Middle East and our military readiness? Let's ask an expert. U.S. Air Force Colonel, retired Colonel Cedric Leighton joins us now from Washington. Colonel Leighton, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, you have been involved in military action before. You were involved in taking out a lot of Iraq's air defenses. What does a wait like this do to our readiness?
Well, it can have several impacts. There's always a peak that you achieve when you're getting ready to do something, and it's very analogous to what a sports team goes through as they're getting ready for a championship. So what you have is a bunch of, in this case, Navy vessels that are waiting to conduct a mission in the Eastern Mediterranean. That mission, of course, as everybody suspects, is probably going to be one that involves a precision targeting exercise that really attacks the Syrian command and control apparatus. That is something that people think happens very easily, very quickly. The problem with that is there's a lot of preparation that goes into that, and the longer that our troops have to wait, the longer that our sailors and Marines have to wait, that becomes an issue, because what you end up having is a situation where their peak readiness may decrease over time, over the period that they're waiting, and that could be a significant impact on their ability to accurately prosecute targets and to also minimize collateral damage, in other words, civilian casualties.
Okay, and in some senses, the Assad regime may move things around by the time the action takes place, right? The targets may literally have moved.
Absolutely, and that's another factor. So what you have is, not only do you have the natural fatigue that sets in for a crew like this, but what you also have is a situation where the enemy also is thinking, the enemy is also reacting, and you know that they're going to be moving some of their main targets, as many as they can, to areas that are going to be a lot safer for them and a lot harder for the U.S. to reach and strike.
Okay, and Colonel Leighton, what about the diplomatic effect of this, putting this on hold rather than just, doing it, getting it over with?
Right. There's going to be a lot of diplomatic difficulties. First of all, on the alliance side, nominally we have an alliance for Syria between the United States, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. Now, each one of these parties backs somewhat different players in the Syrian opposition. Now, they're all opposed to the Assad regime, but there are different areas that they're looking at and different areas of leverage that they want to obtain. So in this particular situation, you have a case where the Saudis, for example, will want one side, the Qataris a totally different, more aligned with the Al-Qaeda element side, and the Turks are more interested in a Muslim Brotherhood type solution to the Syrian problem. And given all of that, each of these countries wants the U.S. to react, and generally speaking, in spite of some public pronouncements, they want the United States to act quickly so that they can then go in and exercise a degree of influence that they would like to exercise over the final outcome in the Syrian case. On the side of the rivals, you have a situation where the United States is focusing on not only what the Syrians in the form of the Assad government are doing, but you also have a situation where the Iranians, the key suppliers of the Assad regime, are also a major player in this, and they are biding their time, looking to see what the U.S. reaction is going to be and what the U.S. actions will be once an attack is launched. During this period, they too can help the Syrians move a lot of their targets, those mobile targets, some of their Scud missile launchers, things like that, to safer locations. They may also take some of their systems, some of the Syrian weapon systems, and move them to Iran. The Iraqis did things like that before the run-up to Iraqi freedom in 2003, and you can expect that the Iranians will help the Syrians do something similar. And then when you have the Russians, they of course will look to respond as much as they can to any U.S. action, and this gives them some time to do that.
So with all that in mind, with everything being moved away, we keep hearing the phrase limited strike. How effective can that be? Is that basically just like, basically dropping some bombs without really knowing where they're going to fall, or whether they're going to fall actually near any meaningful targets?
Well, every effort is going to be made on the part of the U.S. Navy and any other U.S. military effort that is engaged in striking Syria to have a precisely guided munition set of targets. So the types of weapons that we use today are not the same type that we even used in Vietnam or even in Desert Storm. They're much more precise. They're much more able to hit targets. The problem is you may be as precise as you possibly can be and hit a fixed installation. The key question now is that installation just an edifice? Is it just a building? Or does it still contain the nerve center that you're seeking to destroy if you're going after a command and control net, for example? So in this particular case, that could all move.
That could all move. We have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Colonel Cedric Leighton, retired from the Air Force. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.